Hola, bom dia. Carl Munson here with the Good Morning Portugal live stream YouTube channel and podcast. How are you today? How was your weekend, whether it was in Portugal or whether you're still making plans to be here? It'll be lovely to hear from you. I think we're going to take it nice and easy this morning. Sorry, I'm a bit late this morning. One of those interesting things about Portuguese life, certainly the way we live it anyway, is the gas bottle on the shower ran out. So had to sort that out in my underpants out on the terrace. But Lee said, soon it's mended, as my mother-in-law used to say. So, yeah, how are you? Who are you? Where are you this morning? Good morning to everybody joining us from the expatsportugal.com community. Great chat with the British Embassy last Thursday evening before the wine club. And, the talk of Brexit and the wine club entirely unconnected, of course. But that's on our YouTube channel now. Yes, we had a fantastic, talking about how was our weekend, had a lovely weekend with some of the gentlemen, and I use the term advisedly, some of the gentlemen of the Good Morning Portugal community joined me for the inaugural Expat Man Cave. And clearly there is a need for expat men of a certain age to gather and vent their frustrations through comedy and the like. Not for everybody's taste. A little bit of Top Gear in there, I suppose. See for yourself. Certainly, if you're not easily offended, that is also on our YouTube channel right now, or available as a replay on the Facebook page, of course. So, bon dia from Jim, reporting in from a chilly Wiesbaden, Germany. Yes, it's still changing, isn't it? Very autumnal for me this morning. And Paul Williams in the UK. Hola, bon dia. Had a lovely weekend with our family. My football and cricket teams won, so all is good with the world. Isn't that a lovely feeling, Paul? And look forward to more of your company in the Expat Man Cave. I think you'll be a great contribution to that. So the weather then, let's have a look at the weekend weather ahead, shall we? Sorry, the week's weather ahead. What am I talking about? Word of the day is chá, which is Portuguese for tea, of course. And then you can be asking for chá preto, chá verde, for green tea, black tea, whatever. Or you could have chá English, I guess, couldn't you? Which is what I'm going to just have a quick sip of right now, thanks to Mrs. M. Very nice indeed. And my landlady here was pointing out the Tetley tea tree. We do have a tea tree, and I'm really not sure. It's not tea. It's not a tea leaf tree. I don't think it's a tea that brings essential oil of tea tree. I think it's something entirely different. But that just reminded me, and I need to research that and find out. But it chips up well, that's for sure. I've been making a lot of mulch this one of these machines I bought from Lidl. Yeah, 7 minutes in, just mentioned Lidl there, especially because Gary's just joined us now. I bought a chipper from Lidl. What a great machine that is! Just mulches up loads of old cuttings and stuff. And the Tetley tea tree cuttings, more about Tetley tea trees to come. That's probably in the Happy Homesteaders group in due course. But what a fantastic machine that is, and what a satisfying job that is to do. I had good fun and loved it. I don't know if that's your weekend or the man cave. Probably a bit of both there, Gary. So let us know what you've been up to. How was your weekend in Portugal this weekend? I had a lovely barbecue myself yesterday. It always feels like if you were raised in England. And there's like a barbecue season, of course, isn't there? And I still have that in the back of my mind. Or I better enjoy maybe the last barbecue of the year. I think we've got a few more to go over here in Portugal. I had a lovely afternoon with a Portuguese friend and his son. The children played, the men barbecued and drank beer, and it was great. And I got a little bit of Portuguese cultural and linguistic tuition as well. Fantastic. So, hola, bon dia. Weather is in Lisbon, the capital, 16 degrees at the moment. Partly cloudy. High of 26 and cloudy today, but looking forward to the rest of the week, 27 degrees and sunny tomorrow, and around 24, 22 as the week unfolds, and a rainy weekend to come, actually, starting on Friday. So, as you might expect, reasonable temperatures in the capital, just over 20 centigrade, but rain at the weekend, a couple of cloudy days on Wednesday and Thursday in Porto. And yes, my friend Marco, who's with me yesterday afternoon, was telling me some wonderful places to visit in Porto. So got to head north soon and go to a wonderful nature park, I think, on the north side of town with a lovely treetop walk. Really looking forward to that. It's good to have Portuguese friends, isn't it? 12 degrees at the moment in Porto at the moment. and it'll be a high of 22 today and cloudy. Couple of nice days, Tuesday and Wednesday in Porto, 22 and 21 respectively. And the rain coming in a bit earlier than in the capital. The rain starts on Thursday in Porto, 20 degrees, however, but the temperature's dropping beneath 20 to reflect the time of year up there in Porto. 18, 17 and 16 over Friday, Saturday and Sunday of this week. Rain in Coimbra, I wonder? Yes, coming on Friday, but today 12 currently and sunny, a lovely sunny day in Coimbra. 26 degrees to look forward to today and cloudy, and 26 and 24 on Tuesday and Wednesday. Cloudy day Thursday, and then the rain coming. And the temperatures are dropping beneath 20 in Coimbra too. In Faro, 19 degrees and clear at the moment. A cloudy day, actually, but a high of 25 nonetheless. That's nice and comfortable, isn't it? Down there in Faro in the Algarve, 26 tomorrow. Cloudy again on Wednesday. Sunny on Thursday. And then Friday will be cloudy. Saturday and Sunday, cloudy weekend, but no rain forecast for Faro as we speak. So there's your week's weather. We're reporting our early results. Not a massive amount of results from the Expats Choice, Portugal.com. Let me just pop that in the comments there. For you to share your own views on we started this conversation with banks, didn't we? Oh yeah, and another recommendation, a local's recommendation was the Credit Agricola Bank, and my friend Marco, because of his love of the land, quite liked, I think, the idea of recommend. I don't know if it's a recommendation, but he said it was worthy of inclusion of if you are selecting a bank in Portugal. Credit Agricola Bank. It's of course the old bank of the farmers here in Portugal, and also I'll add that to the choices. But we have a survey, Expats Choice, the S in Expats, Expats Choice Portugal.com, where you can find out, or you can tell us who your favorite bank is, who your favorite mobile provider, whether you're a Sagros or a Superboc person, car hire, other things and other categories. Please do commend those to me so that I can include them in the survey. But I'll tell you what people have been saying already so far we've only been doing it for a week, and there are some numbers. There are some numbers to report on. I've just seen Frank. He's the co-host on the Expat Man Cave. What is that? Good little morning. I thought it was a vomiting emoticon there, the Vomicon, as it might be called. But that's I think the sun rising over the forests of Lidl, perhaps. I don't know. But Frank, great job on Friday. Really good fun. And looking forward to working with you again next Friday evening. Hi, hello, good morning from England. Same old here with raining. So nothing new. Happy New Week. Tea. We, the Portuguese, took it to England in 1500. We love more than coffee. Da Costa Diogo da Costa, thank you so much for your contributions this morning. Word of the day, Palavra do dia is cha. And there we go. We're reminded. I think I didn't know that in the back of my mind, that it was the Portuguese who introduced the British to tea. And now look what's happened. Amazing. Thank you, Diogo. Good morning to you. Bon dia to you, my friend. Ana Lucia Pinho, morning from Cheshire. We'll see Portugal in December. With a nice exclamation mark. I think you're happy about that, Ana Lucia. Great to hear from you this morning. And Diogo is saying, post office is the best. No. Oh, okay. So the best bank yes, I must add that to the categories. Best bank, no charges, is the Post Office Bank, the CTT. Good shout there, Diogo. Thank you very much for that. Grand rising to you all. That's a very good greeting, isn't it? We're really trying to source oranges, 100 kilos a week. We love Portugal so much. This is from the Gel fam. I hope I pronounced that correctly. But as we consume so much orange juice, in Spain we were paying 30 cents a kilo, and here it's €1. Wow, that's amazing. Sounds like it might be good to be near the border for that price difference. Good heavens, makes a lot of difference. Anyone have any good ideas? So a bit of orange trading perhaps on the show. If you've got some oranges on your trees and you are near the Gel fam, I mean, not yet, of course. It's going to be a while, isn't it, before the oranges are already on the trees? But 30 centimes a kilo sounds pretty good value, and that's a very big difference to €1, which is apparently what they're paying in Portugal. So let's see what we can do there, because when you see the amount of fruit that goes onto the floor and rotten, it does make you wonder that there may perhaps be a better use for it. And it's all about the distribution. Of course, fruit falling to the floor is no bad thing because it becomes the compost and feeds the earth. But wouldn't it be nice if it went through a few human bodies first? Andrew Scarborough, bon dia, my friends. Good bon dia to you as well, Andrew. Great to have your company this morning. Okay, so what should we do? Just have a quick look at the news, actually. Some interesting news stories this morning, not least. Well, this one was interesting to me, about the criminalization of graffiti on trains, and I'm sure this will polarize opinion. That's not my intention. I'm genuinely interested in what you have to say about this, but there are aspects to it that I didn't realize about graffiti on trains. I'm a fan. I quite like it. You know, as a youngster, would you believe I was into the hip hop music? And the whole part of, there's a massive part of hip hop culture is about graffiti, isn't it? And I used to see the trains of the New York subway and think, wow, that's amazing. Then when I came to Portugal 3 years ago, well, incredible. It's the same. And these graffiti artists go to extraordinary and dangerous lengths to paint the trains, which is all part of the culture as well, of course. And, I was all for it, but I'm going to tell you more that's kind of challenged my thinking about it a bit and may well do with yours as well. Jane Cosquera, bon dia, clear sky over Gafanha do Carmo, spending 3 weeks with family, then back to England for work. Enjoy those 3 weeks, Jane. Lovely to hear from you this morning. And thank you for your message. Yes, always on the floor. Thank you for that shout out. Not at all, Gel fam. I hope you can get access to the oranges that you want. And there are a few things better at breakfast time on this planet than Portuguese orange juice. These sumo laranja natural, when you ask for it as freshly squeezed in the cafes. Oh, it's a delight. I mean, to me, and I say this about, fruit generally here in Portugal compared to my upbringing in the UK, it's like 5 or 10 times sweeter because obviously when it's picked and shipped to the UK, they're picking it early. And I don't think it reaches its full maturity or sweetness. And you come here and you pick fully ripened fruit, either in the supermarket or at the market or wherever, or even best still off the tree. And it's like, wow, the factor, the sweetness factor is raised hugely. And my kids love it as well. Bon dia, my dear, from Sean. Good morning to you, Sean. How are you doing today, sir? How was your weekend here in Portugal? And a bon dia, Carl, from a dry but cool Cotswolds. Lovely. Love the Cotswolds in the UK there. Thank you, Claire and Steve. He's one of the rascals of the Expat Man Cave. Neil Perkins. Bon dia, GMP, says Neil this morning from the Alentejo. Right, so this thing about the graffiti on trains, let me just tell you a little bit more about that. Interesting. Legislation will have a tougher penal framework for those carrying out graffiti on railway carriages. Many of them, I didn't know this, many of them young Spaniards who come to paint trains in Portugal because the law is softer. Excuse me a minute, just have another sip of Sorry. Here we go. Back to that story now. Minister of Justice, Francisca Van Dunen, reverses the law of the Passos Coelho government that had decriminalized the practice. Oh, okay. So an enlightened drug policy, it seems, in Portugal, and for some, an enlightened graffiti policy as well. But that has now been reversed, it would appear, between January and August of this year alone. CP, that's the Comboios Portugal, I guess, train service here in Portugal, and very good it is too. I love using the trains here in Portugal. They spent 370,000 euros to remove graffiti from trains. The time that these compositions were immobilized in the workshops was 8,868 hours, which according to the company represents a loss of a further 473,000 euros. Some months ago, carriages on one of the new Virgin, AP trains was subject to graffiti. Now, there's a little bit of a comment. I picked up this story from Safe Communities Portugal, and their comment that they're adding to this. And Safe Communities Portugal, really good for just health and safety matters in Portugal, and particularly good and steady coverage of the COVID pandemic. But they're going off piste a little bit here with the graffiti on trains. I guess it's a sort of law and order issue, as they would see it. The comment from them is this comes after Friday, where CP are preparing to buy 62 suburban trains, 55 regional trains, and yes, Comboios Regional and 12 long-distance trains. The specifications are still being prepared, but the decision on the number of trains seems fixed. The value is expected to reach €1 billion. That's an amazing investment, isn't it, into the trains, taking into account that a suburban or regional train currently has an average price. Good Lord, I'm going to let you guess. How much do you think a train costs? We await more details of this law when it comes into force to see exactly what it covers. And obviously, a bit of disappointment because the AP is the Alpha Pendular train, which is the beautiful high-speed train, which is great to ride on, great to see as you see it rocketing past. I'm very lucky to live near a railway station, and it is the one of the AP lines running from the capital up to Porto. And they're incredible trains, and it's a very smooth ride as a passenger. How much is the average price of a train? Did you answer that? €7.5 million to buy a train. So that's out of most people's leagues, I would suggest. I know there are some people with that kind of money here in the Good Morning Portugal community. I know there are. €7.5 million, but off most people's Christmas shopping list. Let's face it. Mate, last year in London, 3 kids got killed. Oh dear, graffitiing the trains. So that's no good. I did same graffiti in the 1980s, but on the walls, nice and safe. Says Diogo. Well, yeah. And this is the thing. I mean, the I don't know, peacemaker, communitarian, left-leaning part of me wants to come to some sort of agreement, collaboration. Let's make graffitiing trains safe. Let's have designated trains which can be graffitied. But then for the graffiti artists, that would just seem like a come down. I think part of the culture of graffitiing trains is to do it under the cover of dark, presumably, and as a criminal act, which is all part of the points they earn, I suppose, within their own community. But that's terrible news that young men, presumably, there are killed crafting their art there. Graffiti criminalization finally. Okay, so Frank's not a fan. The same guys who and he sounded like a proper old bloke this morning. Yes, and the same guys who vandalized should get to clean it. Rascals. Yeah, a fair point, Frank. Fair point. Let's discuss that over a beer on Friday. Yes, live on air. Morning from a warm, sunny Castanheira de Pera. Pete always has a great weekend. Let's see what he's been up to last weekend. Had a great day yesterday at the church harvest auction. That sounds lovely. And then the first chestnuts of the season at the village social club. The more I hear about Castanheira de Pera, the more I love it. Marking the turn of the seasons there, the first chestnuts at the village social club. What a beautiful vignette of Portuguese rural life, or rural Portuguese life. What a beautiful picture he shares with us. That's Peter, the unofficial ambassador of Castanheira de Pera. So thank you for that update. How was yours, Will? I know a few guys I met in Portugal that did the train painting thing in a city in Holland. It was bizarre. The skill, physical and artistic, required to pull it off. But what did it achieve apart from delayed passengers and thousands in damage? Bit of a waste, given that it was a regular hobby. An interesting comment from you there, Will. Thank you very much. When I pressed them for a reason, never really got anything except because to see it if we could. Yeah, and I suppose that's the glory for them, isn't it? Is to see it going past. Or better still, sorry, I've just seen Gary's comment. It's a competitive thing, isn't it? So they want their not enemies, I suppose, but they're competitive enemies in graffiti. So they want the other graffiti artists to see it. I get it. And this is, Gary is calling Frank an old giffer. Make them clean it. It's wanton destruction of the railway system. And I do understand all of that. Really do understand that, and don't approve of it on that basis. And especially now it's going to be criminalized. Obviously, don't want it to be supporting criminal behavior. But also, there is an incredible cultural, artistic value in it to me. But maybe that's just because it reminds me of my distant youth. Neil, all the decent trains heading south from Lisbon stop at Casablanca. Then all the old buckets head down to Alentejo because we don't matter. So there you go. But we have polarized opinion here, not because of the graffiti, but because Neil is unhappy that all the best trains seem to be for him the north of the country, which is Lisbon and upwards. Yeah, I see that. But what I want to see also, Neil, is steam trains. Can you imagine the return of steam trains? Chuffing down from Lisbon through the Alentejo. That would be beautiful, wouldn't it? Through your cereal fields, past vineyards on a steam train. Absolutely beautiful. But I mean, it sounds like he doesn't want them to get any older than they already are. So fair point, Neil. Not as big a lover of of the rail service in Portugal as I am. Clearly, huge fan of graffiti art. Love it. Yeah, me too, Jay. I think we're old hip hoppers, aren't we, from the past? And I guess you're either into that or you're not. So there you go. Brilliant. Let's have a look at some other news now. I'm gonna put this on the screen for you. Let's have a quick wonder about the news of the Portugal resident this morning. Until we go to the early findings of the Expats Choice Portugal nominations, just some early results to share with you. Need to let you know that the state of contingency is extending officially to October the 14th for COVID. Portugal's, this is Natasha Don. She is such a great reporter. She really is. And looking at some really interesting, I don't know if it's the time of year or what, or the time of man in history, but suddenly over the summer, I suppose you might expect this. And, there was only one really big story and there was nothing to write about in terms of tourism or anything like that. So yeah, it seemed quite quiet in the English-speaking Portuguese newspapers, but it's all kind of kicking off again. Some really interesting things there. This one, from Natasha, Portugal's current state of contingency has been expended even to October the 14th, just as the state of emergency ran over a period of weeks in 2 weekly blocks. The state of contingency will remain in place now for the next 2 weeks, very possibly being renewed again and again, she writes. The idea with all the restrictions in place, and there is a link there for you to go find out what they are. I think we know what they are by now. You can't drink by the roadside anymore. Is to reduce the increase in infections. The ECDC, which sounds like a tribute band, the European Centre for Disease Control, has nonetheless placed Portugal among the group of countries considered to be showing tendency for concern. That's kind of vague, isn't it? But the overall risk rating is still considered moderate. Well done, everybody. To put some balance on daily reports of deaths and infection numbers, the majority of people dying from this virus are still older than the average life expectancy, which INE, the National Statistics Institute, reports. This is an incidental bit of news. This is very interesting. But the average life expectancy here in Portugal, it would appear, is 80.93 years. And of course, every death is sad. I don't like ever to report this in a way that it doesn't matter. It matters. Of course it matters. And this is a very complex and should be nuanced debate, but often isn't for the reasons of putting restrictions in place, not necessarily in this country, but others that I'm aware of. Let's go back to their headlines then, because there are some interesting ones here in the Portugal Resident. And this one I will cover. This is quite sort of, I don't know what you think about this, but when I saw Trump's blistering attack on China at the UN address that he gave last week, I thought he was trying to start a war. It sounded really like some serious saber-rattling stuff. And now we have it filtering down into Portugal, where the US ambassador in Portugal says Portugal has to choose now between allies and the Chinese. What polar times we're living in. Why does Portugal have to choose? But we'll talk about this more on our Wednesday night outing, where Phil returns. Phil will be back, and we'll be doing CSI Portuguese history on Wednesday, because he was the guy on Friday, if you remember, who not only had this tragic incident at his house where a lorry rolled down a hill into his house and a load of rebar came in through his window, but he the reason I was talking to him is because he creates these beautiful little stories that were inspired by his son's visit to Canada some time ago, 10 years ago, I think. And then he got more and more interested in Portuguese history and started sort of digging beneath the surface. And we are going to be looking at some unsolved, some speculation about Portuguese history on Wednesday evening and reopening a few cases with Phil. We'll also be talking about this idea with our friends on the other side of the Atlantic. Portugal has been put back on the spot by the United States over its relationship with China. Were you aware of this? Did you know that Portugal had a relationship with China? I mean, everyone's got a relationship with China, right? But Portugal, I think, because of Macau and the past, of the way the history of the countries, there is a specific flavour here between Portugal and China. After numerous attempts in the recent past to dissuade this country, that being Portugal, from further business with the Chinese. Further business. I mean, it's like all or nothing with the way the Americans are speaking about this, right? US ambassador George Glass, he's a smashing fellow, has given another no holds barred interview, this time with Portuguese paper Expresso, stressing, and then I'm going to leave it as a cliffhanger there because we will talk about that on Wednesday evening from 10 o'clock. What else have we got that I thought would be interesting to look at here? They've all disappeared. There's the Oh yeah, the F1 tickets are going fast, as 38,000 crowd capacity is confirmed at Portimao, and I can't find the other stories I wanted to look at. Another massive bag of drugs left unclaimed on the carousel. It's really bizarre. It's almost like it's some sort of superhero thing, where a superhero is fighting the dark forces of drug dealing in Portugal and then just leaving the hall on the carousel. A second big bag of illicit drugs left on the carousel at Lisbon Airport. It's got to be Batman, isn't it, or somebody like that. I'm sure there's a joke that can be made of the superhero who fights drug dealers and then just leaves the suitcases full of the illicit goods on the carousel there. First totally made in Portugal plane. Did you know that Portugal made planes too? When you scratch the surface of Portuguese manufacturing and technology, you find the most amazing things. Here's another one. First totally made in Portugal plane promises 1,200 jobs in Evra. Isn't that good news in these times? Fantastic. So I'll leave it there for Portugal resident, and we'll come and have a look at the Expats Choice Portugal. They're not awards, they are an ongoing poll. The idea is that it's a people's poll. You tell us what you use and what you like as expats, and then we'll tell other people what you like and what you use. And I think that's a pretty good guide. That's better than journalists, isn't it? Doing affiliate-based, guilty as charged, affiliate-based links and articles to things. These are the things you use and your opinions as expats living here. So I'll give you the early results on that after a few more comments here. Nice one, Gary. I'll come back to that in just a moment. Good heavens, bless you all with your lovely comments this morning. I've got to find out where I got up to. Peter had a great weekend. Gary calling Frank an old giffer. Behave, you lot. Oh, yes, steam train to Coimbra. How good would that be? Well, there are steam trains running in Portugal, of course. The Vuga line, I believe, north of Aveiro, as far as I'm aware. I think you can catch it at Aveiro and head north on a different gauge, possibly. But certainly an old train, a steam train, quite possibly, on the Vuga line, Vouga. There's another thing to stick on your list. These lists grow longer by the day. Bon dia from Jeff. Hey, Jeff, how you doing? We live next to Winchcombe Steam Railway. Just wonderful. Yes, railway children moments. Isn't that an evocative movie? Daddy, I hope my daddy's on the train. Oh, daddy, darling. Yes, brilliant. Railway children. Must watch that again soon. Some graffiti artists are now professional artists in their own right, going back to the trains and graffiti article there. No longer doing it just for free or for the kicks or to put their competitors' noses out of joint, no doubt, Jay. I know one, says Jay, who is very good, gets a lot of work from businesses and has started getting into tattooing as well. Wow, not content with trains and walls, now graffitiing people as well. That's an interesting transference of those skills. Cheers, Jay. Neil, yes, it would be amazing. Spectacular steam train trip through the plains of the Alentejo. So there you go. He likes that idea. Could you imagine? Extremely romantic. Yes, like brief encounter. We've gone from railway children to brief encounter. Do you love me, darling? Do you really? Let's do it. He's got €2.57 that's obviously been hooked out from the back of the sofa to kick the fund off. We have started a crowdfunder. Actually, while we're on that subject, slightly more serious, but this is a good use for your 257, Neil. Do you remember a couple of weeks ago now, that poor baby that was left on the steps of a church in Lisbon because the poor mum felt she couldn't give the baby a good start in life. So she left him in a Moses basket. And I was really moved by that. I was thinking, what can we do? So I was talking to my Portuguese pal yesterday, and I'm saying, what charity should Good Morning Portugal? This is just talking out loud, really, sharing this with you, see what you think. What charity should Good Morning Portugal connect with to address this? So the expats, generally speaking, us expats are often better off, aren't we, than the lowest paid and the poorest people of Portugal, obviously. And some aren't. I know that as well. So I don't want to make too many assumptions, but clearly some are. And it just seemed right to me that the expats here do something to address some of the challenges that local people face, in the culture and the poverty of the country. And, wherever you go in capitalist societies, the gap seems to be getting bigger between rich and poor. And Portugal seems to be no exception. And there's work to be done. There are people who need support. And it seems to me a good idea that expats put their hands in their pockets and help out. And, with a particular instance like that, where a mum feels unable to look after her own child and leaves him outside a church, all wrapped up, slathered in cream, apparently, just to keep him warm. It's really tragic and moving story. We can surely we should be able to do something about that. And as a collective of expats, organize ourselves to do something about it. And as I recall rightly, my Portuguese friend I was talking to about this said, maybe not a charity, maybe figure out where you can connect locally as an expat. And I'm all for it. As I'm sure anyone who watches this regularly will know, I'm all for like a light touch of central government and a lot of people power on a local level. And I see we've got a bit of a power cut there. I see the potential for that in Portugal. With the way government is done on a local level, it's all there. It is being done. And I think it could be a whole lot more, people power on a democratic power on a local level. But this is what my friend said, is maybe to bypass the charities. Because as we know, a lot of charities are like a social economy, aren't they? So you pay your money to the charity, and a lot of your money that goes to the charity then goes to the administration and the wages. And it becomes, poverty can become professionalized, can't it? And there are a lot of structures locally, I think in Portugal, that would be my sense of it. And this is what my Portuguese friend was saying, where, find out what the need is locally and give the money directly. If kids need clothes locally and shoes and toys and stuff, buy the clothes, shoes and toys and find out how to get that distributed locally. Do it locally. And I thought that's a great idea. So that was one part of it. Another thing that came up for the longer term, this is not so much an immediate poverty issue. And obviously, you've got to do first aid and you've got to help people who are in direct and dire need right now. And I think we can do that locally, give money to people who absolutely need it, who aren't eating, whose children haven't got clothes, to mums who feel like they can't give their kids a decent start in life. Yes, reappropriate money for that. That's what it's for, right? It's certainly one of its better uses. But the other thing he came up with was the idea of this is for the longer term, and this is for the expats who are interested, more in the environment. And this was really far-sighted and long-term. A bit like Native American, thinking 7 generations in advance. He had an idea as well to get together as expats, or even you can do this alone, but to buy land to let it go back to nature. And this to me struck me as a really good solution to the whole sort of eucalyptus plantation thing, is if for those who can afford it to buy and who have a concern about the monoculture of eucalyptus and how that contributes to fires, is a really beautiful regenerative back to nature renaturalization of the landscapes by buying land and have it reforested with native woodland. And so, I'm not saying do that instead of alleviating poverty. I'm saying that's another idea. That's for the long term. And I think that'll be an incredible contribution if expats, well, anybody, but certainly, we are expat focused live stream and service here project. What a great project that could be. I'd love to see that, sometime in the future. Good Morning Portugal involved in the natural reforestation of the landscape, helping with fires, helping with nature. How wonderful would that be? But also, I think we're going to have to write some sort of little guide or do some personal testimonies of how people work locally. I know people here, work at pet shelters and, we always recycle, the old kids' clothes and stuff to a place where we think, it's going to do some good. But my Portuguese pal was saying, get it as direct as possible. And that makes a hell of a lot of sense. And if you're giving money or stuff, it is good to get it to the where it's needed as quickly as possible with all the added admin and costs. So thank you for bearing with me with that tangent from Neil's idea to crowdfund a steam train this morning. But I'm also up for that. Let's crowdfund a steam train. Looking forward to our first journey as we clink together glasses of champagne, chuffing through the Alentejo plains. How wonderful. AC/DC is a French heavy metal tribute band. Very good, Gary. AC/DC, mate, it's life. It's life. You get more tasty like Porto wine, so less life you get. I don't know what you're referring to there, Diogo. And this happens. I talk so much on this show. I forget what I say and what I was talking about. So I'm not sure what that comment refers to, but I guess is this like a health thing? The more wine you drink, the more fun you have, but the less life you have. Oh, this is life expectancy, I think. Thank you, Diogo, for that. COVID average age of death, 83. Average age of life, 82. That speaks a lot to me. Thank you, Jay. Average age of death surely can't be that high, or is that very local specific? And of course it is, Will. It is going to vary, isn't it, around the country, rural, urban, and so on. Looks like Trump is heading for hot water about his taxes. Gary, every week begins with Trump heading for hot water or the cesspit, and out he jumps, smelling of roses, standing outside a church holding a Bible. It's bizarre. Is it not? Viva Portugal! Long life in Portugal. I think Frank is celebrating the average age or life expectancy there. How about the hydrogen-powered plane? We'll put you in touch with those guys in Evora, Gary, with that idea. And Neil is posting emoticons of cake and beer, I think, this morning now. Sometimes money is not the answer. Absolutely, Gary. There may have been other reasons for that baby's abandonment, of course. Could be other factors like domestic violence or other types of abuse. That's a really difficult one to try and solve, but it does happen a lot. Yeah, good point. Well made, Gary. Thank you. And Casa... Hold on, what's this? Casa... Oh, thank you, Diogo. Casa do Gato, Casa Pia, Lisbon local charity for helping people out. Fabulous, Diogo. If you're in Lisbon and you want to, as an expat, you want to do your bit and help out locally, there's a couple of names for you to go at. Casa do Gato, Casa Pia. Oh, 3 minutes to go if I finish at 1:45. Very quickly then, I'm going to tell you what the voting has been like so far. We need more data. We are in the data age, aren't we, at the moment? The data. Let's have a look. Millennium BCP are leading at the moment. Okay, we asked who the best Portuguese bank were in your view, as the people using them. So at the moment, Millennium BCP Bank is out front. Novo Banco closely behind. We need to put Credit Agricola in there, but Santander, Toto, Urbic, Ativo, online banking, of course, they're Revolut, the unicorn, the wild card of banking, not specifically Portuguese, and Caixa. They are all level pegging behind Millennium and BCP, some way behind BCP and Novo Banco. So currently, the people's favorite is Millennium BCP. I bank with them, and no massive complaints, actually. None that would make them any different to any other bank, for sure. One bit of feedback with that was easy to open with a UK address at BCP. That's good to know, isn't it? Or elsewhere, presumably. They can even post your cash card to the UK. We opened our account when we visited for a week to view properties. So when we were ready to purchase, we already had an account set up for transferring the money for the house deposit. So there you go. On to the mobile phone category. Mayo are in the lead at the moment, ahead of Vodafone. Nothing for Nosh at the moment, though, and no one using apart from me, that is, using their old UK phone on roaming still. And I suspect, who knows, after Brexit, it might be like the banking situation, is you won't be allowed to continue to roam. The reason I do is because I get such a massive allowance from 3 on my old UK tariff compared to Portugal. So expensive. 3 and the other phone companies in the UK give you a phone with your plan. I know it's factored into the cost, but you don't get that in Portugal, do you? You have to spend loads of money buying a phone as well as getting the service here. But Mayo, currently the people's favorite for mobile providers. And the big controversial news. In terms of the feedback, anything else you want to say about Portuguese beer? It's nice, says one correspondent, and Sagres is in the lead. 4 votes for Sagres for every 1 vote of Superboc. So do you bag a Sag or do you rock a bock? I ask from time to time. And it looks like people prefer to bag a Sag. Favorite wine currently is Luís Pato. I guess wine and winemaker. The master, I hear him referred to in my region here in Portugal of Barada. Luís Pato out in the lead, and Symington just behind Luís Pato. Matthias Rosé, no votes at the moment, but I know one lady who will give them a vote. And a little bit of feedback. They love the Reguengos de Monsaraz wines. They love those, this person said. It's all anonymous, but the red in particular of Reguengos de Monsaraz. And best car hire company in Portugal, I voted for these guys. Been great. Rent Auto, very good value, really easy going, and they don't try and rip you off. And that's through the brokers Zest, who I've liked to use as well. Best government office in Portugal at the moment, Alcobaça gets the top votes. That's me, actually. So if you want to nominate and vote for your favorite government office, if you have one, some people just don't. But if you have had a good experience with a government office in Portugal, I think you should say so, because I think they can be quite influential in where people land in Portugal, because you're going to be in and out of there, aren't you, in finances, when you're with your residencia and so on. So shout it out. If you have a good relationship with either your freguesia or your Câmara, please let us know who they are, because it could be very influential and helpful to people who are coming to Portugal. We'll leave that there for now, but do go to, let's have a look. Where are we? I'm going to put that link back in there. Expats Choice Portugal. Expats Choice Portugal. Goodness gracious, that was I can't find it. There's so many comments this morning. I actually can't find that to put back in. Oh, and I missed someone's birthday. Hold on a minute. I missed loads of comments. Let me see. Okay. How do you stop dealing with the Chinese, says Neil, when they're pretty much they own the country's largest electricity supply? Absolutely. Chinese corporate construction, blah, blah, are pushing but Sintra Marina, they're looking to buy Sintra Marina and huge parts of the Lisbon waterfront. They are here to stay, methinks. I would agree with you. It's figuring out how to work. It's so silly, isn't it? I mean, American ambassador, surely he knows better than to talk in such polarizing terms. But I guess that's a bit of a guns blazing, saber rattling position to begin with. And that's perhaps how it works in diplomacy and ambassadorial matters. Macau, says Diogo, was offered to Portugal in 1500. We fought the pirates in the China seas to get back to China in 1991 and the interest in Macau. Macau, what a fascinating place. Not entirely savoury, I suggest. But yes, back to 1500, to that relationship between Portugal and China. Thank you, Diogo. Aircraft manufacturer in the Alentejo in Évora. Whoop, whoop, says Neil. But they just lost a contract due to COVID. Boo, absolutely. And happy birthday to Steve. Okay, and I am there joining Frank in wishing you a happy birthday, Steve. Didn't know that, but happy birthday to you. Parabéns to you. A vigilante job idea. If you're after drug dealers, go get paid on half now, half later for a drug mule delivery. Take the goods, get on the plane, and walk away at the other end with half the money, and the drugs get delivered to the uniforms. But always be looking over your shoulder, though, if you made a career out of it. That's how his mind works, folks. His nickname is Brains. Well, that's the nickname I've given him, because we've got a kind of Ocean's 11 vibe going on in the Expat Man Cave. Will's part of that team, and that's how he thinks. That's why we need him in our gang. Look at this, average age 50. We've got a gang. Bon dia from Johnny. Carl, your link, expatschoiceportugal.com. First results are in. Does not work. Perhaps www instead of www. Yes, I sometimes get some problems like this. Do persist. It does work ultimately. expatschoiceportugal.com. Please persist with that and let me know if that works out okay there, Johnny. Thank you for that feedback, though. Sorry, went to bed early last night on a bit of a roll this morning. Just found out that Rita's cousin, Luis, has just got through the first round of the new episode of The Voice. We got to get behind this guy because Rita knows him. So listen, and I'm sure you'll all want to support him if he gets much further. Keep us informed with that, Neil, with what's going on with young Luis there. Amazing voice and singing traditional Portuguese songs from the Alentejo. Yay! We're already behind him. And yes, and now I've caught up with pretty much with the comments. No, I haven't. So I'm 60 and more tasty. Diogo, I believe we need you in the Expat Man Cave. Join us on Friday. We'll have a lot of fun with you, Diogo. I'm sure I can tell. So yes, are you in England? You're in UK, are you? Did I read earlier on? But yes, welcome. Great to have your company this morning. Join us on Friday. Not able to get in on the Expats Choice for some reason. Is it? Oh, okay. I'll figure it out, guys. Expats Choice. Portugal.com. I'll go and investigate after the show. Sagres is the best, says Diogo. Cartajo is tasty and the best and cheap. Thank you very much, Diogo. Brilliant. Riddle for the day. Herd immunity may be much closer than we think. And the slower we move towards it, the faster we get there. Brilliant. Well, something to ponder on if we haven't got enough to think about already. Bon dia, Sagres for me. Very nice and cheap. And a cheap wine that Andy Craig likes. A recommendation here: the Marco de Pagos at Aldi for $1.79. Lucky you, Andy, to have an Aldi near you. We are blessed more with a Lidl than we are with the Aldi in our part of Portugal. But I do like to get into an Aldi, and I see they're opening loads of stores in the UK as well. But thank you for that recommendation, the Marco de Pagos at a very modest $1.79. Can't believe you bottle out of attempting Rita's family name. Do you know why I did that, Neil? I mean, given that you've outed him anyway, it's all good. I just did a sort of old school thing of like, okay, better not read out his surname. I don't shy away from a Portuguese pronunciation. Trigachero, see, no problem. Trigachero, Luis Trigachero. He's our man for the Portuguese voice. We're right behind him. And look at this. She's making me read out Dutch now. Deze tijd is niet bereikbaarheid IP-adres van de server van en zo on kan niet worden gevonden. I hope I did that justice, Johnny, and I will go and look at that now. And this is perhaps one of the longest and latest Good Morning Portugal live streams. I thought it was going to be quick and easy this morning. Get in, get on with it, and get off, but sadly not. But I'm so glad to have your company. And that's why we've hung around for so long on this Monday morning, the 28th of September 2020. We'll see you this evening with the Portugal playlist. Send me those tunes that remind you of your planning for Portugal, your road trip in Portugal, or what you've subsequently learned about. Let's have a tune from Luis Trigachero. Let's get behind him properly tonight on the Portugal playlist. Join me at 10 o'clock, and the link for that will be on this page later. Thank you so much. Abrazos. I learned another way of saying goodbye. It's not a very good one. Até nunca. It's never see you. That's like if you're a bit peeved, you say that. Até nunca. But I'm going to say teja, te and te amanhã if I don't see you this evening on the radio show. Abrazos, buginos. Ciao, ciao.